What is up, guys, and Happy New Year. Welcome to my first video of 2019, and since this is the first video of 2019, I want to look forward into the year and let you guys know which movies I'm most anticipating. This will be mostly superhero movies because that's just the type of movie I like, but there is one movie, unlike last year, that is not a comic book movie at all that is on the list, and pretty high on the list at that. Now, the reason this is a top 5 and not a top 10 is because there aren't really more than maybe 6 or 7 movies that I am very anticipating this year, or really any year. Also, last year I just did a top 5, so I don't really want to talk about movies that I'm interested in or maybe a little bit excited in or for, but not like really excited for. So I limited this list, just like last year, to a top 5. So with that all in mind, let's go over my top 5 most anticipated movies of 2019. Number 5 is Reign of the Supermen, which is coming out on January 29th. This is a straight-to-DVD DC animated movie and a sequel to The Death of Superman, which came out in 2018. If you saw my review for that movie, or if you saw my list of all the superhero movies ranked from 2018, you would know that The Death of Superman is a great movie, in my opinion. I really love that movie. I thought that it was a great portrayal of not only Superman as a character, but that storyline as well, which has been done before, like quite a lot. But this was easily the best version of that story. Now here you have the sequel, which is the same sequel they did in the comics, which they've never done this storyline before, exploring the 4 new Supermen, the Reign of the Supermen, with the Eradicator, Superboy Steel, and Cyborg Superman, who will most likely act as the main villain, and Superman will return from the dead, which he is a compelling character, which I already know from the first movie, The Death of Superman. So this movie, it's being done and being made by the same people who made The Death of Superman, obviously, so it will probably be just as good, if not a little bit better or a little bit worse. Either way, it's definitely a movie I'm very anticipating, and I'm glad it's not really coming out very long from now. Number 4 is Shazam, which is coming out on April 5th, 2019. So this is a part of the DC Extended Universe, which for the most part is not really a successful universe, but it did release recently Aquaman, which I loved. It's by far my favorite movie in the DCEU, and when the trailers for Shazam and Aquaman came out, which they came out on the same day, I thought that the Aquaman trailer didn't look nearly as good as the Shazam trailer, so if Aquaman was that good, then Shazam should be pretty great as well. I love Shazam as a character, and the fact that this is the first live-action interpretation of the character in recent years is a huge deal, and I think the trailer again looked really good. It looked like a lot of fun. It looked like it was definitely an interpretation of the first volume of Shazam, the New 52, which I have read and I really like. The only problem with that is there were a little bit too many villains in that storyline, which this movie seems to be rectifying because Black Adam is not in this movie. They're probably saving him for a sequel, so the trailer looks great. The DCEU has some sort of potential to grow further with movies like Aquaman and Shazam, so I'm definitely very much anticipating Shazam in April. Number 3 is the first and only non-comic book / superhero related movie on this list, and that is Pokemon Detective Pikachu, which is being released on May 10th, 2019. So there are a couple of reasons I'm very much anticipating this movie. One of them is I am a big fan of Pokemon, or at least I used to be. At this point, I really only play Pokemon Go, but I used to be a huge fan. Like, as a kid, I would say I was a much bigger fan of Pokemon than I was of really anything else, including superheroes, which if you look at my channel is saying a lot, so that is a big thing. But when the concept of this movie was revealed, Detective Pikachu, that sounded a little disappointing for the first big budget portrayal of Pokemon, but the trailer was released and that completely changed my mind. This is probably my favorite trailer for any 2019 movie that has been released so far. Detective Pikachu himself looks incredible. The CGI for these characters, or I'm pretty sure they're a little bit practical, whatever, it doesn't really matter. They look like these realistic versions of Pokemon, and it is insane. The trailer looks also really funny, a lot of fun. Ryan Reynolds is completely nailing the role in the trailer. Like, when his voice was revealed in the trailer, it was such a crazy reveal. Even though I knew he was playing the character, just it fits so incredibly well with Pikachu. So this trailer is, again, my favorite trailer for any 2019 movie so far, so I'm definitely very much anticipating Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Number 2 is SpiderMan Far From Home, being released on July 5th, 2019. This is a direct sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming, as well as a pseudo-sequel to Avengers Endgame and the 23rd movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is the only movie on this list that doesn't actually have a trailer. The trailer was supposed to be released, but then it was delayed, and it still has not been released. That being said, we have seen set photos, and the movie looks great. The villain, Mysterio, who has been a kind of a joke of a villain in the past, it seems like they're giving him the Aquaman treatment, making him look incredibly cool, giving him a pretty great actor, and he will turn out to be a pretty great villain, and I have no doubt about that. I mean, just look what they did with Vulture. And speaking of Vulture, Spider-Man Homecoming is right up there as my favorite Spider-Man movie ever, and I'm sure this will be maybe not as good, maybe a little bit better. It doesn't really matter. It probably will be a great movie. Also, it's Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and it's a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You can't really go wrong with that. Before we get to number 1, let's go over some honorable mentions. One movie that barely missed the list was Captain Marvel, which the reason it missed the list is just because the trailers didn't look good enough to really crack the top 5. That being said, I am definitely pretty excited for this movie. It really will further the Marvel Cinematic Universe and introduce a pretty important characters. But then there's The Lion King, which I was a huge fan of that movie as a kid, and even though the remake I don't think needs to really be a thing, it is still a movie that I'm at least a little bit interested in. There's also Star Wars Episode 9. I'm definitely interested in finding out the ending to this trilogy. There's Toy Story 4. I was a fan of the Toy Story movies, and again, this movie doesn't really need to exist. It will still probably be a great movie. And then It Chapter 2, and also the straight-to-DVD DC animated movies like Justice League vs. Fatal 5, Wonder Woman Bloodlines, and easily my favorite or most anticipated movie from the straight-to-DVD DC animated movies outside of the one that made the list, and that's Batman Hush. So with all that in mind, let's go over my number 1 most anticipated movie of 2019, which you probably already saw coming. Number 1 is Avengers Endgame, which is being released on April 26th, 2019. This is probably on the top of most of your guys' list, and there's a good reason for that. While Avengers Infinity War was the penultimate culmination to the first 3 phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and 19 different movies, this is the actual culmination to all those movies plus a couple more. It will be a sort of end to an era, if you want to call it that, which the actual end and the death of some beloved characters that we will probably not ever see again is not something I'm excited for, but it will be probably amazing. Avengers Infinity War was amazing. The directors of this movie, the Russo brothers, I have never seen a movie from them that I didn't absolutely love. Granted, I only saw their Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, but those movies are my favorite movies in this universe, with Winter Soldier and Civil War and Infinity War being right up there at the top. So there's absolutely no doubt in my mind Endgame will be an incredible movie. Now, the trailer didn't really get me all too excited for the movie, as opposed to the Infinity War trailer back in 2017 when that was released, which was insane, but I do think they revealed just enough for this movie that while the trailer isn't all too exciting with crazy action scenes or emotional scenes like anything like that, but I am still incredibly excited for Avengers Endgame because it's gonna be insane. So anyway, that is my list. Let me know your list, as well as if I missed any movies in the list or in the honorable mentions in the comments down below that you are excited for, and you can vote in the top right corner of the video which one of these 5 movies you are most anticipating. And I only included these 5 because I can only include 5 movies in the poll, so I just included the 5 that made it on to the list. So with all that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.